these are really trying and difficult and uncertain times. And for some of us, it's even beyond that. The university has shifted the function of its physical plane. We've given over space that was normally college space or dormitory space for our students, and we've made it available to workers in the Texas Medical Center, to essential workers from across the street, because we're also part of that community. We will continue to teach into the summer, and to teach in ways to offer opportunities for teaching and learning in an expansive way that reaches our community of students, but also reaches beyond our community of students.
I think the COVID crisis is a perfect example of a real world problem that cannot actually be addressed by only science. You absolutely need science. You absolutely need the statistics and the medicine and the sort of professional medical response to it. But the virus spreads actually through human behavior, and human behaviors are driven by human values and human beliefs and human social practices. So this is clearly a crisis that's produced on both a biological level, but also on a social or psychological or cultural level. And we very much want to have this conversation with our colleagues and students across campus in the sciences, because we don't really, or at least I don't really think at the end of the day that we can address the issue fully without taking all these aspects into consideration.
You know, the ethics in pandemics class, for example, is asking questions. On what basis should scarce medical resources be allocated? How do you decide whether the local governments and state governments even have any responsibility, authority against the federal government? What are our duties to one another? What does social distancing really involve? It's kind of a social contract. If we go back to Rousseau and think, like, what is the foundation of society in modern times is a social contract. So there's sort of endless ways that the humanities can help us kind of go back to big questions that will link ethics with morality, with history, with sociology, because it's all there, with politics and with science.
We'll be offering some basic courses in contemporary moral issues. Philosophy 101 will be offered. The visual and dramatic arts faculty has stepped forward to offer introduction to theater. And I'm also very excited about the ways two of our major art historians have stepped up to team teach a class on the history of Western art. Our Medical Humanities program will be offering a course taught by Professor Sean Smith called Epidemics in U.S. History. I hope a lot of students take up that course. And in this sense, I'm particularly excited about the way that our Center for Language and Intercultural Communication has stepped up.
I think the humanities are uniquely adaptive here because their sense of community has always been much broader temporally and spatially than the present classroom. You know, to really study the humanities, you enter a community that's centuries, if not millennia, long and is global. And a lot of humanities training and a lot of the methods we use in the humanities have always been remote technologies. As I like to point out, this strange and wonderful thing called the book is a piece of remote technology, probably unprecedented. when you pick up a book and activate the author who wrote it, that author does not have to be physically present. He or she does not even need to be alive. And yet he or she is teaching the reader.
A couple of opportunities that would be presented to the students this summer are 2 courses with really senior professors who are experts in their field. So one is Professor Luis Duno Gottberg, who's in Spanish, Portuguese, Latin American Studies. And his expertise is both literature and film. And he's teaching a course on the act of seeing, understanding visual culture. And what he's doing in that course is stripping away the presumption that your eyes are always telling you a truth. And instead he's saying this is not a natural act to see and to know what you see, but to begin to learn to actually unpack the many different interpretations of what it is you're viewing, an image, a film, a representation of a beautiful piece of art. And the second course is taught by Professor Tim Morton, who's also very well-established, eminent scholar of English literature. And he is using how to read text. By text, he means everything from a tweet to a Facebook post, to a novel, to a letter, to an autobiographical entry, a diary. And while none of those are really equated with one another in the way he approaches, he's explaining and trying to pursue in the course what kind of reading strategies we can learn to actually dig deeper below the surface of the text and start to understand and interpret the meaning of the words. And there's probably no better guide than Tim Morton, who's a relentlessly clever and humorous critic. And both of these courses, I think, lay the groundwork for the study of really humanistic disciplines across the board, but any discipline. And I would just say that learning how to read critically is a fundamental part of writing, which is something, of course, every student in the university really does need to master before they graduate. So those courses are just exciting. And I would say the humanities as a whole this summer with this curriculum has aimed to create foundational courses that will take students, that will lay the groundwork for a journey. And that journey can go in any direction, but these courses are meant to provide a foundation.